Many mistakenly believe that Jay-Z's first extensive foray into establishment politics was the only time he talked about issues he cared for. Beyond his support of Obama, Jay has also mastered a sneak-and-speak approach to political commentary. He laces his lyrics with pieces of social and political insight, from entire blocks of songs to extended metaphors to just a word or two. On Made in America, Jay claims, "The scales was lopsided, I'm just restoring order," speaking both of weighing cocaine and fighting gross injustice and restoring balance between black and white. On the 2010 song Shiny Suit Theory, made by rapper Jay Electronica, who is signed to Jay's Rock Nation record label, Jay-Z guest starred and flipped the tables on the therapeutic profession. Instead of culturally incompetent shrinks treating black children, Jay puts psychiatry itself on the couch and gives it a rousing psychoanalytic read. Jay's narrator sets the scene with a therapist receiving a report about Jay that concludes he is delusional for believing that he, a boy from the hood, could share a cover with Warren Buffett, as Jay did on Forbes magazine in 2010. In this manila envelope, the results of my insanity. Quack said I crossed the line between real life and fantasy. Jay wasn't just giving psychiatry the bum's rush. He was also implicitly challenging the logic undergirding the American perversion of the Geisteswissenschaften. As thinkers use philosophy, history, literary and cultural studies, and theology to justify the argument that black folk are intellectually inferior, raving barbarians, or just crazy. Clearly, the psychiatrist represents white America and its attempts to convince black folk that we are loony for wanting to make it in America. Jay offers bracing bars that nod to Rosa Parks and the divine redemption, better yet, the divine conception of hustling. In the world of no justice and black ladies on the back of buses, I'm the immaculate conception of rappers/hustlers. My God, it's so hard to conceive, but it all falls perfect. I'm like autumn is to trees. The therapist scribbled a prescription for some Prozac. He said, take that for your mustard. Since you gotta be psychotic or mixing something potent with your vodka. It takes a lot to shock us, but you being so prosperous is preposterous. Wealth isn't just the aspirational goal of the desperately poor, but speaks to a will to overcome, to resist, to rise from the back of the bus to hobnob with billionaires, to even believe that one might become a billionaire oneself someday. It is to combat racist forces that Jay asks how a nappy-headed boy from out the projects be the apple of America's obsession. Jay's narrator doesn't just fight back, he reverses the terms, underscores the racist rationalizations that deny black sanity and genius, and addresses the plague of overmedicating black kids. Certainly, overmedicating children is a national concern as we address the side effects of drugs that accompany the diagnosis of psychiatric conditions. But the racial fallout is heightened when black kids, who are already victims of an unjust, resource-starved, two-tiered educational system, are subject to medical intervention apart from careful, compassionate, culturally aware talk therapy. Sometimes the delusions and rationalizations of race come from within blackness itself. The animated video for 2017's Story of O.J., directed by Mark Romanek and Jay-Z, features the character J-Bo, a portmanteau of Jay-Z and Sambo, and a withering visual and lyrical signification on Jay-Z himself. Casting himself, even in animated form, as a derogatory Sambo-like figure is a feat that Jay is able to pull off because he has spent a long career artistically reflecting on race. The life of Jay-Z glimpsed in song highlights the struggle and occasional conflict between his sense of once being black and poor and now being black and wealthy. If we argue that race is socially constructed rather than built on genetics or biology, and that it is the broader social world that gives race meaning, then we might say that Jay's vision of blackness is lyrically constructed. J-Bo spends much of the video for the Story of O.J., arguably Jay-Z's best entry in his considerable body of audiovisual art, strolling the streets of New York City, and eventually the world. The Story of O.J. isn't a story about O.J. Simpson. The song uses an anecdote about O.J. distancing himself from his blackness as an occasion to advise and mentor Jay's audience about race, capitalism, and entrepreneurship. The visuals for the Story of O.J. video, drawn in a black and white, faux early 20th century minstrel aesthetic, present a litany of stereotypical images: blackface performances, minstrel dances, plantation workers, cotton fields, lynch mobs, and a factory that produces members of the Ku Klux Klan. In aggregate, and without paying attention to the words of the song, the images of the Story of O.J. are patently offensive, especially to black folk. It is a lyrical wonder that Jay-Z's words and the canny, wry expressions of the animated J-Bo changed the meanings of these images. The words of the story of O.J. reshaped those images to deconstruct the history of racism.